Amber Lee, and this is the place to be for a balanced body, mind, and spirit. And today I'm going to lead you through a guided meditation to help you release grief from your body. So from a Chinese medicine perspective, grief is really closely associated with your lungs and with your large intestine, and then also with your skin and your immune system. So making sure that grief doesn't get stuck in your body can have beneficial effects for a lot of aspects of your health. So before we get started, I'm just going to invite you to take a couple of deep breaths because we are going to be focusing on the lungs quite a bit. So just taking a couple of deep breaths and see how that feels. So however that was, just kind of noting what that feels like now. And then we're going to start by clearing out some grief from the entire respiratory system. And what we're working with here is grief from transitions or changes throughout your life. Because every time we go through a change or we experience a transition, there's a grieving process that happens. So that's whether the change is a loss that we're experiencing, or even when it's a change that we want, that we've been working towards. There's just a grieving process that helps us move from whatever our situation was to whatever the new situation is. So grief is kind of a transformational emotion in that way. But any times that we didn't fully kind of grieve whatever was changing, there's just a little bit of grief stuck in the respiratory system. So to do this, we're going to be clearing out the entire respiratory system, including the muscles of respiration. So we're going to be working with the nose and the trachea and the lungs and the interior of the lungs and the lining around the lungs, and then also the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles between your ribs that help you take deep breaths, and your scalene muscles in your neck that help you take deep breaths. So all these aspects of your respiratory system are ready to let go of some old unprocessed grief. So what we're going to do is imagine this old grief as a particular color. So whatever color comes to mind for you is perfect. I'm seeing this kind of gray color. And then what I'm going to have you do is imagine kind of gathering up whatever has shown up for you. So let's go ahead and get started. And if you're not a super visual person, just use your hands and trust your hands, and don't worry about the visualization part. Just follow your own lead. So we're going to take some deep breaths, and we're collecting up any old grief from anywhere you feel called to collect it from. Gathering it up into a smaller and smaller area. So we're kind of consolidating it. Taking some deep breaths. And then we're gonna gather it up into one hand and just kind of pull it out. So just making sure that it's coming out from everywhere. And then we're just gonna let it dissipate. So just kind of watching it dissolve. So a couple more deep breaths, clearing this out, whatever way feels right to you. And then we'll tap on the head, on the heart, and on the abdomen. So we're waking up the brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain to all go look at this work we just did and make sure that it's all clearing out. And then the second part of this is a little bit of medical Qi Gong that we're going to do, focusing on the lungs. So the movement is going to be, I'm going to step back so you can see my arms. We're going to be moving kind of to the end of how wide our arms get, and then back to the center. So on inhale, we're expanding. On exhale, we're releasing. And we have our hands like this to indicate the lung and the large intestine meridians, okay? And as we're breathing in, we're gonna bring in some light. So let's work with white light. So as we breathe in, we're gonna fill the lungs with this white light. And as we breathe out, we're gonna be breathing out anything cloudy, anything that is grief, anything old. So let's take 5 deep breaths doing this together. So the white light in, and then anything that isn't clear, anything that doesn't feel good is just going to be coming out on exhale. Okay? Here we go. Okay. So now let's just take a few deep breaths again and see if anything has changed from the beginning of today's meditation to now. So just taking a few deep breaths, see if it feels different. I feel just much more able to kind of fill my body with air and just a little lighter in general. And if you like the medical Qi Gong, I actually have that as part of my Deepening Wellness Circle offering. So there's different Qi Gong for each organ and major emotion. So that's one of the self-care tools that's included with that program. So I'm going to put a link to that below the post somewhere so you can check that out if you're interested. And hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time.